What is going on, all you Pokemon collecting maniacs out there? This is Ryan, the Pika Pika Papa, and this is our Sunday Fun Day edition where we look at the cards that TCG Player has pointed out to us and said, you all need to be paying attention to these because these have been moving and shaking the most on our website over the last 7 days. And the cards are different, but the theme is the same this week. We have been seeing a lot of movement in Sun and Moon, a lot of movement in the XY era, and obviously with the Black Bolt and White Flare sets coming out, we've been seeing some Black and White era cards which have been featured on this list. And even though the list has only featured these cards really over the last 5 or 6 weeks, we have been seeing the overall positive trends in Sun and Moon and the XY era for about 6 months now. And I'm not just talking about a little bit of a percentage gain month over month. I'm talking about very serious gains in those top 20 singles cards and booster box spaces. You know, every month at the end of the month in this video series, we do a state of the hobby where I share with you all of the information that I warehouse behind the scenes. And it's coming out in a couple days. We're going to look at how XY has moved month over month and Sun and Moon has moved month over month. But when you see it in the big sphere, when you see it kind of aggregated out over the last 2 years, it really is impressive, especially with the fact that Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet, as we all know, the prices have been softening. They've been coming back down to a little bit more of a reasonable level. So when you see the ultra modern side of the hobby softening a little bit, to see some of these other cards from, I won't call them old, but you know, older eras start to really appreciate and value, it gets me excited. That's the great thing about this hobby, is you can always find undervalued cards that have the opportunity to do really well in the future. That's actually another video that I'm working on right now. You know, the Sword and Shield era, it might feel like all of the big cards have already been identified, but when I pulled the information, there's a lot of cards under $30 in the Sword and Shield era, which make me feel very similar to the way I felt about some of these XY and the Sun and Moon cards. So I'm going to be highlighting that later on or in the beginning of this upcoming month, but I think there's a ton of fun. I still think there's a lot of opportunity in the hobby, especially since Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet have been soft here as of late. But as I always got to do before we get into the cards that are moving and shaking right now, I've got to give my selfish plug and just say, hey, listen, if you enjoy the content, if you have fun along the way, hit that subscribe button or give us a thumbs up. Those two small things go a long way in helping my small channel out, and I really appreciate it. So we're going to start right off the bat with a card that's eerily similar to the one that we have been seeing on this list really many different times over the last, I'd say, 3 or 4 months, and this is the Reshiram and Zekrom card from Cosmic Eclipse, except we have been seeing the full art variant. The full art variant is up at like $325 right now. It's up 250% over the last year. So one could obviously, you know, infer that possibly this rainbow variant, the secret variant right here, could follow suit, and it certainly is doing that. Look at what this has done over the last 3 months. This card is up 46.67%, and it is following suit. Now, it's not gaining quite as much. Like I said, I looked at how much this has gained over the last year. This is up about 112% over the last year. The full art variant, as I said, is up 200+%. So this one hasn't seen the same price appreciation, but the other one's got better art as far as I'm concerned, and the other one's more desirable, but still, it's following the exact same pattern. And when you think about that, those are the reasons that I've got some of these Sword and Shield cards that I'm super bullish on in the long run. So lots of cool cards, and this obviously is stunning artwork, and it's not just the card itself. Obviously, we all know why this card is getting a lot of love and attention, but Cosmic Eclipse as a whole, the set, the singles cards, the sealed products, has just been on an incredible run, again, over the last 6 to 7 months. So you combine the fact that you got Reshiram and Zekrom right here, which are obviously top of all the collectors' minds because of the new sets that are coming out, coming from a huge set like Cosmic Eclipse, all of that combines for some awesome price appreciation in this card. So super excited to have it on the list, and really cool to see the other variant of this card featured today. Now, the next card, again, when we talk about awesome artwork, it's funny, when I was at Collecticon, I was talking with somebody and we were looking at the Magikarp and Wailord tag team card from Team Up, and we were talking about one of our favorite things about these tag team cards are the expressions that the Pokemon have, right? These aren't just, you know, run-of-the-mill artworks or just 2 different Pokemon on there together. They have really engaging and fun artwork like this, and this is another one of the cards that we were specifically talking about. I mean, look at Mewtwo. Mewtwo is completely and totally annoyed with Mew sitting there cracking up in the background. So not only do you have an awesome card with some of the biggest names in the Pokemon hobby, but you have really engaging artwork. And this is another one here where it was really working its way down, you know, for a while, and up until recently, up until about 7 or 8 weeks ago, this card was just on a downward trend. But then see what happens. It starts to pop up, right? And in a short amount of time, this card is up 40% over the last 3 months. We have seen promos have been doing really, really well. When I showed you the video, which was on the 10 biggest gainers on TCG Player over the last 30 days. I think that video came out like a week and a half ago. There were so many cards that were on there that were promo cards. It was all Sun and Moon and older. There was no Sword and Shield. There was no Scarlet and Violet. And there were a ton of promo cards on there. And this is just another one that has been able to gain ground considerably. Now, it didn't start off cheap. I mean, if you look at it, the low point there was about $125. So certainly not a cheap card to begin with. But now it's knocking on the door of $200. It's just incredible to see these cards. And again, my favorite part about this is the artwork. I think it's absolutely stunning and a really cool thing to check out here. Next card on the list, and again, to me, artwork isn't that great. I certainly think it's above average, but it's coming from Unified Minds. We have seen Unified Minds, Cosmic Eclipse, a lot of these sets in the Sun and Moon era. Those booster boxes are reaching absolutely ridiculous prices right now. And you have this card right here, which is following suit. Again, you might compare it to the other ones and say, well, it's only up 26.6% over the last 3 months. But it's up 26.6% over the last 3 months. That is an incredible gain for anything that you could possibly have money in to go up over 25% over a 3-month period. And again, like I said, especially when the broader market has been softening a little bit. So, you know, this is a super cool card. Obviously, some fan favorite Pokemon on here, but it is really cool to see the market finding value, finding cards, you know, that might be just a little bit overlooked and people piling into it like this. So again, up 25% over the last 3 months, or up 26% over the last 3 months. Can't really shake a fist at that. Really solid gains from a really cool card from an absolutely awesome set. Now we're going to get back to this. We have featured this card multiple times over the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks. And we all know why. We know that in Black Bolt and White Flare, there are going to be cards that are very similar to this Reshiram. And spoiler alert, the next slide is going to highlight the Zekrom. But this card is sitting here at $100. And over the last 3 months, this is up 126%. And you can see most of the purchases, most of these sales, that big price appreciation came out after they revealed that there's going to be a very similar card from an artwork perspective in the White Flare box. So, you know, this card is absolutely awesome. I think it's going to be a great chase card. I'm a little bit on the fence about how Black Bolt and White Flare is going to perform. I hear people referring to it as like 153. I would not do that in a million years. 151, that set is kind of a generational type set. So I'm not saying I'm not going to have some of this. Obviously, I'm going to buy it. I already have my pre-orders in for one Pokemon Center exclusive Elite Trainer box of each. And if I can get some more, I will. But I don't know if I'm going to go as heavy into this as I am going to go into some of the other sets. But we'll just have to wait and see. There's a lot to learn. We still got a lot of time to flush everything out, but this card has obviously just been on a tear over the last 3 months. And as I said, same thing with the Zekrom card right here. Again, another card. It's only up 61.43% compared to the previous one, which was up over 100%. But the sales volume has been solid. And as you can see, I mean, this was a $65 card, and now it's up over the $102 mark. And I will say this, both of that Reshiram and the Zekrom card, I saw a ton of them for sale at Collecticon. It was incredible how many dealer tables had these out there. There were a lot of PSA 9s. I even saw a bunch of PSA 10s, and the population is relatively small for that. So it was interesting to see so many PSA 10s for sale, and those PSA 10s had some ridiculously high price points. And as we've said before, you know, this is a great learning lesson. Whenever we see a new set coming out, whenever we know it's going to feature a Pokemon, whatever that might be, you know, we feel like the market is going to be really hot and heavy over it, then it pays us some dividends to go ahead and look at some of the older cards, because we've seen that when the new ones are released, the old ones have a tendency to pop up in value, just like we've seen here. So this was a ton of fun. I really enjoy this content every single week. It is becoming more and more impactful. In the past, I wouldn't call it quite as predictive as it has been of late. We've seen a lot of the cards featured on here be again featured in the future with a much higher price point. So now it's starting to make me feel like, hey, this isn't just, you know, a week-long snapshot of cards that are doing well. This has the opportunity to show us cards that are not only doing really well right now, but could also perform really well in the future. So all of that being said, if you made it to the end, if you had a ton of fun, as you can tell, we do this every single Sunday. So hit that subscribe button or give us a thumbs up. And most of all, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Have an epic one, and I'll talk to you soon. See you later, everybody. Bye.